Well, Caleb, thanks so much for joining me here today. Excited to learn more about Cold Plunge Coffee. Tell me why? How did you come up with the idea? How did you get started?
Yeah, Rachel, good to be with you. I got started in Cold Plunge Coffee LLC officially about 2.5 years ago, and probably got started with the idea maybe a decade plus ago. So, it all kind of, my story's sort of unique how I came across cold plunging, why I like them, why I'm an extreme advocate for them, and nobody can ever tell me they're not the most awesome thing in the world. But sort of fell into it about 2011. I lived in New York City, and I had this crappy walk-up apartment and four roommates, lofted bed, tiny little 100 square foot room. And one day the hot water heater went out. So what happens when you're sort of in a dump-of apartment? I guess you go into a negotiation with a landlord rather than him just fixing it. And my roommate was kind of leading the charge on this and came back to us one day like, hey guys, we got a really cool offer on the table. The landlord is going to take $100 off each of our rent for the next 3 months. And we're like super poor. So that sounds really good. $100. Wow. But the catch is he's not going to fix the water heater. When our lease ends, he's just going to gut the place. So we're just going to have to bear with cold showers for the time being. It won't be that bad. You guys will be fine. We didn't really think much at all into it, but we all agreed pretty quickly, I think. And shortly thereafter, pretty quickly thereafter, realized that it probably wasn't the best deal. We couldn't wash dishes, much less take lukewarm showers. So I was a super coldie. I grew up in Tennessee. We didn't exactly have freezing cold lakes anywhere where I grew up, or a reason to go in freezing cold water ever. But I was taking my daily shower, and I was jumping in like for 1 second, jumping right out. It was like early spring in New York too, so it was kind of chilly outside. And after maybe 3 days, I was like in there like 3 or 4 seconds, screaming and running out. After a week, I was like, something sort of has changed in my brain. This, whatever I'm doing here, is obviously waking me up in the morning. It's getting me going. I'm feeling a little more energized, a little more focused at work. A lot of stuff's kind of feeling good. And I think it's all correlating back to these freezing cold showers that I'm forced to take every single day. So then I'm taking them for a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. And yeah, I was just like, everything in my life feels better. I feel better. This is pretty cool. Sweet. I think I'm into this like this cold water stuff. So ever since then, I was never consistent as I was when I was forced to take them. We turn the knob over to warm. It's just a lot easier to do that. It's much more comfortable. But I would keep them in my peripheral. Oh, wow, that spa over there has a cold plunge. I gotta check it out. Oh, there's a an alpine lake at the end of this hike. I'm going in. January in the Pacific Ocean. I'm going in, guys. Be right back. What are you talking about? Why are you going to the ocean? So I still knew that they made me feel better for this awesome stretch of like 3 months when I was forced to do them, but I wasn't consistent. I found excuses, but I, would do them like whenever they're accessible. And for years and years and years, it was that way. And when I always had this kind of back of my brain idea to have a cafe, the kind of, I don't want to say cliche thing of like I want to own a coffee shop. I love to have this sort of neighborhood spot where people could come and I could explore this passion that I've always had for coffee. I was just thinking like 2.5, 3 years ago, what is a problem I have? What could I solve it with? How could I help other people? And I kept coming back to this cold plunge and coffee idea. And I fought it for months and months and months. and finally just did a little research online. There's doesn't seem to really be any kind of niche in the spa industry where it's just a plunge shop. So it's kind of just words that I made up in my head. Why don't I just have a plunge shop where people can come, have a daily cold plunge, people that want to do them 5, 7 times a week, and get out of there? Because it really just takes 1 to 2 minutes to change the rest of your day. That's how I was in New York. That was my kind of thesis with this. I wonder if there's enough people like me out there that want to do this every day, want to reset, want to just have this kind of, I think of it like as a supplement, vitamin ice every single day. I think it'd be really cool. Let me go out and talk to some people, meet a bunch of people, and see if is there a market for this? And there was no coldplungecoffee.com. There was no Cold Plunge Coffee LLC. There was no Cold Plunge and Coffee Shop out there. So I was like, I have to do it. So that was pretty much the why. And the reason that I got started was because I just had to. There was no other thing like it. And it just was no other choice at that point. So Cold Plunge Coffee was born in Seattle, yeah, early 2023. So that's how we got started, and that's why I put them together. I love coffee. I love cold plunging. I had a problem with doing them, so I thought there would be at least one person that would come to my shop. I guess would be me. So that's that's where it all began.
Well, at least you know there's one customer coming in, day out, but I'm sure there's even more so that have grown since 2023. So
Yeah, there's a bunch of crazies out there that are like me, come to find out,
that's
for sure.
great. We love that. So, what would you say is some trends you're seeing in the industry? And can you tell me a little bit about whether it's the health benefits of cold plunging in the morning, cold plunging with coffee? Talk to me a little bit about that.
I mean, trends for the past several years when I was putting my business plan together in 2023, the wellness space was taking off. Everybody was being a little more mindful about what they're putting in their body, different workout routines, biohacking and stuff like that. And cold plunging had very much been in the ether for probably it got more and more talked about like 2015, 2016 when Vice did a documentary on Wim Hof. Then like Tim Ferriss was talking about, Joe Rogan was talking about it. It was all on every podcast. It was all over social media. There was polar plunges happening every, New Year's Day. There was, ice bucket challenges and stuff like that. And, despite the science and all the stuff like that, I experimented this on myself and I just knew it just leveled me up. So I definitely dove into the science a little bit in the market. And, like I said, wellness was growing like 20% CAGRs year on year, every year for the past, 5 years when I started looking into am I on the right trend with this? Would this make sense? Am I going against the tide? Am I too late? And, there are a lot of businesses out there. There's a lot of spas. There's a lot of money going into this world, a lot of producers and stuff like that of cold plunging and saunas and hot tubs and a million other wellness type solutions. And so that gave me confidence that I was kind of I had some tailwind behind me. And, I think it's going to keep growing as we learn more. And that's why I wanted to specifically hone in on cold plunging. I love spas, but again, I treat myself to that like 2 or 3 times a year. It's kind of a 2 to 3 hour time commitment. I want to like really use all the things, do all the kind of contrasting, and it might be a few $100 too for like the nicer ones. So I'm not going to treat myself to that once a week, months, much less once a day. And I was just like, why isn't there something for this thing that like literally takes 2 minutes, get the minimum viable minimum effective dose of what all the scientific studies say are about 14 minutes a week for, autoimmune disease, recovery, inflammation, circulation, mood, focus, energy, 12 plus scientific studies that are out there on this really new thing. So, the Hubermans of the world are the ones that are studying this right now. There's, a lot of other, white papers out there on it. And I'm just like, whether it's a placebo or whether it's real hard science, I don't really care because it makes me feel better. So why am I not doing this every day? And why aren't more people doing it every day? And my whole thesis and my whole mission at Cold Plunge Coffee is to make cold water immersion accessible and convenient as possible to the masses. I want to lower the barriers to entry and, you know, get people in there that have just been inundated with it, on their social media feeds or wherever to give it a try because and that was always going back to like I want to start a business that will actually help people. And I do believe that if I can get more people in my little neighborhood to cold plunge every day, in my community, in my city, my state, in the United States, that we will be a happier, healthier place. So I'm just seeing nothing but green shoots and awesome trends in wellness. And as far as like coffee and cold plunging goes, there have been actual studies about the effects of caffeine that intensify the cold plunge effect. So I think it goes hand in hand together. I like to tell people that you earn your coffee after you do your cold plunge, and I just think it's a natural sort of lower the barrier to entry place. Everybody's been in a cafe or a coffee shop before. They might not have been in a spa or a plunge shop before, most likely, since I think one of the only ones, but the effects when you naturally warm up is another thing. And so I wanted to have this kind of space where people could hang out after the cold plunge, warm up, talk about it. It's really funny how much more chatty people get after they do a cold plunge. You can see it in their eyes. They're open. They're wanting to talk to their neighbor. It's really fun. I mean, I would like pass out flyers at polar plunges in Seattle when I was getting this going, and nobody would want to talk to you before they went in the water. And guess what? After they were coming out, everybody wanted to talk to you. They were so excited about Cold Plunge Coffee. What is this? How do we find it? So it's just kind of this natural flow that I thought in my mind would be a really fun way to start your day, have a cold plunge coffee break at 11 a.m. and go back to work. Those afternoon slumps come along at 2 or 3 o'clock. There's nothing better than getting in a cold plunge and waking up. You don't have to have a coffee, you don't have to have a cold plunge, but I think that the combination is pretty awesome.
I think that's awesome, Caleb, and I
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing that. And I can just see your passion, your heart, and I can totally see why you started it. I mean, there's just so much. You don't want just another coffee shop. You don't want just another Starbucks. You want to create community. You want to create a reason to leave your house and, do something different. You don't want it to feel like like you mentioned, the spa experience it's only like 2, 3 times a year. Some people might treat themselves like to more time, some people might treat themselves less, but this is something that somebody can indulge in every single day. So what do you feel like has been working really well for you? What do you feel like has been maybe more frustrating or challenging that you've faced?
Well, everything's awesome since opening the doors to an actual brick and mortar store 6 months ago. I started by literally not knowing anything about the coffee business, just being a tourist in the world, talking to friends. And it was really, really cool to be able to start this in Seattle, which is the mecca for specialty coffee, in my opinion. So many good coffee shops. So I was able to network and meet so many awesome people. My roaster and good friend now is still my roaster to this day. I was his first wholesale account, and he'll be my roaster forever. And it's just really awesome coffee. So I went to him. I was just like, what, like, I think I just want to start selling cold brew. I don't actually have to buy a machine for that. Can you just like give me 5 pounds of beans, I guess? Like, what do I do exactly? So I make a tank of cold brew and I'd go try and sell it in the back of my Subaru. I was starting. I was a coffee entrepreneur now. I owned a coffee shop. So getting started was probably the hardest thing, and I just dove in, just calling myself an entrepreneur, or a founder or whatever these names are that I was afraid to be an imposter on was one of the hardest things. And just getting going. Again, I had thought about it for a decade, wanting to own my own business in the coffee world of some sort. So it took a lot of really, you know, a lot of things to, I guess, line up to just force me to do it. And yeah, I mean, it's been the hardest thing professionally that I've ever done, and because of that, it's been the most rewarding thing that I've ever done. I was a finance guy in New York for about 10 years. I was a tech guy in Seattle for 5 years. So very much in the corporate side of things where I just fall in line and do what my superiors tell me to do. I had some teams that I managed, but I never had my own business. I never like knew anything about plumbing or architectural or general contracting or HR or staffing or, really anything about cogs in the coffee business. So I just had to dive in head first, go to conferences, network my ass off, talk to as many people as I could, and figure out like how I'm going to start a plunge shop. And the hardest thing was just getting a landlord to give me 2 seconds of time. Not only do landlords not want to work with brand new business owners that have no financial track record, no business track record, very little taxes or sales to speak of, but on top of that, they don't want to maybe work with this weird concept. What do you want to do? You want to put pools in your coffee shop? What do you mean? Like, so explaining like my idea of something that had never been created before was super tricky. And I got some big lumps and bruises in the Seattle commercial real estate market trying to find a place. I really wanted to start it there because that's where I started all my pop-ups and just kind of, talking to people and starting meetup groups for plunging and stuff like that. So I really wanted to start it there, but stuff fell through. I had signed LOIs, they fell through at the last minute, and life kind of happened right at the right time, which it does when you're just kind of on track and doing what you want to do, which is what I found too. Me and my girlfriend decided to move to Salt Lake City. She got a pretty good promotion, so I was like, all right, I can do coffee in Salt Lake City. And I took everything that I learned over this year and a half of like looking for commercial real estate, looking for my first store, and just hit the ground running in Salt Lake City. And one of the first places I looked at was where I am now, 457 East 300 South. It's on 300 South and 4th. And it's like everything that I had in my mind just like manifested and it worked out. And I love where I am now. It's a great neighborhood, super walkable. Used to be a bakery, so they had this kind of wall in the middle of it already. I was like, this this could be it. Like the place I was looking in Seattle, it was like in a lobby of a corporate office building. I was just kind of taking it because it was like one of the only options that I had, and it was heartbreaking when it like got taken out from under me. But like these hurdles and these downfalls or whatever you want to call them all helped me to be where I am today and get the keys. Like that was, I mean, such a big step for a first time business owner. But then it was like, oh shit, now it's real. Now I'm really, really, really into it. I've assigned lease, and but that was one of the biggest hurdles. I think I was well received from the get-go. People were like, what is this? What do you mean it's a cold plunge coffee shop? I don't understand. And people were curious. That's why I started it. I wanted to be different. I didn't want to be a typical coffee shop. I wanted to sell really, really, really good coffee, but I wanted to be diversified. I wanted to try something new and solve a problem I had that I thought could like maybe help people. And I think from the beginning, we've just been welcomed with open arms with everybody, and we've got some awesome members now, a pretty good like crew of people and people coming in every single day. I heard about this, I saw this online, I saw your TikTok or Instagram or whatever, and I want to see what it is for myself. So like, putting yourself out there, creating something new and, putting everything into it, I think has created sort of a buzz around it. And again, it like really, really helps you. I think this is something that I believe in. I'm not chasing like a cold plunge trend. It's something that I myself, I think my like eyes have just opened from like having that experience 15 years ago. And so yeah, just like long story short, putting myself out there, kind of, showing people this new thing, getting them to try it, whether they're 70-year-old grandmother with sciatica, back pain, or something like that, that's been just debilitating, and now they're cold plunging every day and feeling good, or somebody with a college kid that's got a super heavy course load that's like, I can focus better now. It's so cool. That's definitely the best thing, meeting so many awesome people and seeing them try this for the first time if they've never had it in their mind to do and never wanted to do. And the more resistance you have, I always say the better outcome it's going to be. So it's been super fun, just watching that whole evolution of this kind of thing that I just sort of made up 2.5 years ago, and a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of uncertainty out there, but it's been, nothing but like, awesome new things, really high highs and low lows. I'm kind of leveling up every time, so love it.
Amazing, Caleb. Well, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for this business baby that you've birthed into the world and that you are seeing just the benefits that it's having on your clientele. And I'm excited for whatever the future may hold. So you had mentioned they can find you online, coldplungecoffee.com. And also, where's your storefront located one more time?
It's in downtown Salt Lake City on 457 East 300 South. So it's on the corner of 300 South and 400 East. Well, it's awesome to like hit before the slopes for a Utah ski vacation, or if you're coming back from getting banged up, or just traveling through to one of the many awesome national parks here, or if you live in the city, come on by and see us. Rachel, you got to come on by
I
too.
will.
We'd love to host you there and show it to you in person.
Amazing. Thank you again, Caleb. Excited to hear what our listeners have to say about it. And thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, you got it. Great talking to you. Appreciate it.